Yo, everyone, welcome to the new Wannabes episode, season 2 episode. Fuck this. This is such a bad intro. Well, whatever. It's episode 9, season 2. I don't care. Anyway, this is my first time doing the intro, but
Not so easy, is it?
Not so easy. No. Fuck this. But anyway, this is the stuff we're gonna be talking about this week, just kind of as a brief overview to kick off the podcast. We're going to do the Kania patch. We're going to get into some volleyball, not Haikyuu, but some melee volleyball. We're going to talk about the Xanadu rollback and that being region locked now and its implications. I want to talk about expectations in a more broad scale. JD and I will do a weekly recap as always, and then we'll answer some Discord community questions. So,
hell yeah.
10 out of 10 intro, right, JD?
Pretty good. I'm JD, by the way. Nice to meet everyone.
He's not important.
Nope.
No.
And that's Wasabi, right. Also.
Yeah, what's up, everyone? What's up?
Glad we were able to switch things up. But it's been 2 weeks since we recorded. Last Wednesday, we released a 1v1 instead of a normal episode. So we have a shitload to go through. So I think we should just jump into it, right?
Yeah. Let's start out with the news first. So obviously the new patch came out with Akania for, I mean, the main thing, right, that everyone's talking about is melee volleyball, but they did introduce some other stuff as well, right?
Well, and Wolf and volleyball.
Wolf, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to go through. Obviously, the first thing that caught my eye was volleyball. I played a little Wolf. I'm not super interested in learning a new character, but I love watching the clips and all that. So super happy. I think with Wolf specifically, it's more about the implications of like, oh man, we could patch new characters in now, and within a few days people are talking about this being a PM2, like this, because you could play on rollback. This patch can be like the successor to Project M, and that just got a lot of people excited, so it got me excited too. They could add like Zero Suit Samus or Diddy, or like they could do whatever they want now, and I think that's the biggest thing for me. Did Wolf get your juices flowing? Were you excited?
I'll be honest, it didn't get my juices flowing as much as you'd expect. Mainly because I'm still playing the box, so I'm just trying to play Fox right now.
Right.
I can't even learn a new character at this point. But I think, I mean, it just reminded me of like PM. I was like, okay, so like this is kind of gonna be like PM. I think what I was more impressed about than anything else was just like we knew that characters could get patched in and stuff like that, but again, just like the community surprised me in how passionate they are in terms of like being able to just like do things off the fly and to have, quote, like, knock on wood, like that freedom to do it, because fuck Nintendo. And that's what really got me. I mean, I think Wolf is really cool. I don't know like how other characters will be patched up, or like if it will be ever like, I'd be more interested once like it starts delving into competitive play, but it felt just like we were kids again, right? Like, oh my gosh, like I left my GameCube on for like 20 hours and got Mewtwo, and then find out that he sucks. But the Wolf doesn't suck, and that's the fun part about it.
Yeah. I think for a long time there's been this like, melee is sacred, don't touch it. We're happy it doesn't have patches. We're happy that it's been the same and the meta can develop and all that. But the fact that this was like clearly made by melee players, it was made with a lot of love. The rollout was fairly clean. I mean, some bugs, but they're already like patching it and fixing things. And I think Uncle Punch is a part of the team too. So I think because we've seen this kind of steady rollout of different patches, rollback being the biggest thing, now it's like, oh, what else can we do, and why why haven't we been doing this? And it's just been a general embrace, because we know there's an unspoken thing, like this is never going to replace Melee. Like we're never going to have this be the primary thing over the original game, because it's so rock steady. Like Melee's not going away. Melee can't be killed by another Melee. It's only going to be like a supplement. I'm excited to see how tournaments go, like you said, like the competitive side of this, because it's totally viable. I mean, why not have like host both instead of, hosting doubles or whatever? Like this is the side event. This is, and hopefully the PM community can embrace it as well, and get to play their favorite characters.
I'm more curious about the PM community on whether they were hyped for it or if they just wanted PM rollback,
Right.
And I think that's the biggest thing, because that community especially has been, just through tougher times than the Melee community has. So how do we bring them into the circle? Because obviously, listening to what Daddy Nintendo says doesn't really work, right?
Nope.
And so that's what I'm really curious about. Though, talking about, patches, dude, I want to get into volleyball.
Oh,
I think that was sick. I haven't played it yet, but like the meta behind it, and like that being a fun side event, and like along with like a Rishi's Jungle Jam or something, like that's just like good on air time while you're waiting for top 32. I think that's what's gonna be interesting. Like I've been really impressed with like also the creativity that you see from like Save State, obviously with Link and the bomb stuff, and then also like Calvar, I know like had like this nasty like weak hit fair serve with Marth into like a spike. And so I think the counterplay and the meta of that is actually like can be balls to the wall crazy.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, volleyball is the most intuitive way to take a Melee game and like make it into a mini game, into a sport, because it's so easy to pick up. You understand the rules, you just play around with the physics, and all of a sudden it's just another sandbox. And the character there's like I was playing, so I played day one, right? And I was in Discord with us upstate homies, and we were doing doubles right away. Doubles.
Yeah, volleyball. I think volleyball teams is the wave also
100%.
More than singles.
And we were just doing random characters, and I got Bowser. And at first I'm like, oh, shit, dude, Bowser sucks. But then I start serving, and Bowser's forward smash is. Have you ever played Mario Baseball?
Yeah.
It's like it's literally Bowser as a pitcher. So
that's amazing.
So you could control the speed depending on how much you charge it, and then he's all of a sudden not that bad. I mean, you have a back air and you fall fast, and he's still Bowser. So like you keep a back in the back end, and but things like that. There's so much to explore, and it was just a blast discovering all the different tricks you could do, the different combinations, like setting up with Link and doing dare spikes, and realizing Falco's busted, and then developing a counterplay to Falco's dare, like all these things. Just on the first hour of playing it, it's just this beautiful new toy. I think the Melee community did a good job of embracing and making content around from top to bottom. People are all over it, and definitely the biggest thing in the patch was volleyball, even above Wolf. Volleyball was like
100%.
Hell yeah.
Do the lasers hit the ball? I'm just curious. Like Falco lasers? Falco
lasers do. They don't go past the net though. They get stopped by the
net. Okay. I see. Yeah. I haven't had time, because as you can see by this room, I'm still moving in and stuff.
Right.
But I was curious, because I was thinking a Falco Kirby duo would be interesting.
That's funny.
If you could just do Kirby and just like shoot straight down the line.
Well, there's definitely a lot of variety in characters. I don't know if Kirby might still suffer from the low speed syndrome.
Yeah, of course.
But who knows? We might see
as a gimmick.
We might see some really gimmicky teams if the meta continues to develop, which I think it definitely will, because people will host tournaments with money behind it, and all of a sudden you get these crazy ass people like just labbing the shit out of the game. It's it's just like fun. I think it's such a great way to get more casual people into the game. The setup is fairly easy. You know, you still need a controller and all that, but like it's things like this beyond the character um you know, possibilities, the game and mini game possibilities. um People, there's going to be flooding ideas on Twitter and like what's the next thing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's going to really like that's really exciting, is that Melee's going to keep evolving because we broken through the chains of trying to cooperate with Nintendo. We'll make our own games, thank you very much, with your engine, thanks again.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I think that's gonna be the most interesting part. I'm super excited for the volleyball, for the evolving volleyball meta. I think that's gonna be really really cool, and I'm sure we'll see the Melee Labbers come out with stuff too. So that's what I'm excited for.
can't wait, dude. I can't wait to see just some, because there's people that I think this is going to merge the you know, the combo people, the people who
Yeah,
create crazy combos. I think they're going to have a bit of a say in these sort of things, because that,
you think so?
I think so, because they have like setup into like finish. So I think that it's like, I think what they're attracted to is the puzzle of that.
Mm-hmm.
And there's certainly a puzzle to be unlocked with volleyball serves, because it's always the same. It's like, can you make these one inputs? And really what's exciting is like setting it up and then having a mix up, so you have like a hard spike versus like a backline hit.
Yeah.
So those, it's not just about like putting it right. I could talk about this for hours, but we're getting deep into this episode, so I want to hear any final thoughts on volleyball.
No, I'm just really excited for it. So I'm gonna be looking out for some volleyball clips.
We could get some games going soon. I'm sure our Discord would be down.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Me and you will team, and we'll play some volleyball, dude.
Yeah, that sounds hype.
Hell yeah. Sadly, we are on different coasts, so we're not going to have the region lock. And speaking of region lock, some pretty big news. Thank you. Pretty big news coming out of Xanadu this week. They have decided to split their tournament into region locked East and West. Big deal. That's a very big deal, because Xanadu was starting to get some really strong, consistent numbers on a Wednesday. It's like that slot is Xanadu time.
Mm-hmm.
And for them to like, you know, take community feedback and decide to make this pretty big step means that they really care about the integrity of everything, and they're also smart about business, so they know that this is probably a good business decision too.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to where I'm standing as a TO of HNC, which is being delayed again, by the way, it's probably it's going to end up being a monthly at this point, but whatever. There might be some collaborations of, you know, East Coast region lock tournaments, you know, combining tournament results and starting to put together a ranking, or at least a mid-year ranking.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the type of thing that the earlier the better you get the word out that this is going to happen, and add some legitimacy to this. Like this is a bit of a boost to the competitive aspect of everything. Like, I want to fight for this ranking. Let's make it top 50 or whatever. And Xanadu's going to play a big role in that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that region lock is the way to go. I mean, I think the interesting thing is I'm just more curious on like how the meta might evolve then, if people are just net playing with like the same players fighting the same players and that's the sort of stuff. So I think that's going to be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good move though in terms of like competitive integrity, just to make sure, because not everyone has the best internet, and so that's widely debated, and it's almost like a witch hunt too, where it's like you have a bad game. You know, you might blame the internet or something like that, which I'm not a fan of, but I think that like there is some merit to it as well. So yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be interesting to see how the East Coast and West Coast kind of evolves from here on out.
Yeah. It's not every tournament doing it yet, but Xanadu was probably the biggest one. HNC needs to have a few more tournaments before it's considered like one of the bigger tournaments.
Yeah, yeah.
Because every major that's coming out, and I think Gallant did a good job with how they handled it, but with other majors coming out, they kind of can't afford to split it entirely. So there's still a lot of maneuvering and flexibility that's going to go on with how TOs decide to handle this. I hope that the coalition expands behind Gimmer and VGBC. But overall, I think it's a really important announcement that they made. You know, that they're kind of backing Hax's idea and other people's idea to make tournaments strictly region locked. I think it's important. I think it's good, but we'll see how it unfolds.
Yeah, I mean, even then, like maybe just top 8ing at an event would be good. You know, like do everything to top 4. You know, like I know right now they do everything to top 16, and then you play open. But it'd be interesting maybe to do like a top 8 or top 4, so it adds up to top 16 or top 8, where East and West meet. I think that might be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's.
I really like that format personally.
Getting
also
it
just for like the
top
viewers'
8.
time.
It's tricky because even then it's like once you get to top 8, all of a sudden the integrity like completely explodes. But at the same time, it's like everyone's getting that experience at the same time. So yeah. if there's a standardized thing, I think you're right. By the way, I'm behind. I guess I'm just playing devil's advocate of like from a player's perspective. There's still a bit of frustration of like, all right, region locked, good, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I have to play almost a different mindset or a different game. Once you get to these really high level matches, so
yeah,
it's never going to be
perfect.
I think then,
but... yeah, I mean, but the run to top 8 where it combines is still legitimate, which is not what I'm thinking. And top 4 means that you place individually. Like it can be more of an exhibition thing, you know, like for the viewer, and I don't see why that would be an issue.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's just about, you know, I don't know. I agree with it, and I know why people are going into this like ultra competitive thing and being ultra competitive too. I understand it, but I think like we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves in the community where like we're just able to play people now. You know, like let's not forget that like come 6 months ago this wasn't a thing. Right? So like I think like there's not a lot of like gratitude towards just like the fact that like I can play someone from MDVA, and there's going to be some rollback, and that's totally okay, and like and stuff like that. I think it's just like people's expectations of how quickly we can ramp up this is what kind of I'm trying to get at. I think people are expecting too much too quickly.
Yeah, I think it's important for community leaders specifically to have patience and to have open dialogue and to make sure that all these conversations with TOs and tournament heads specifically, not just the organizers, but like the heads, are making decisions thoughtfully and taking real criticism, and not like day of like this guy sucks, or God, this guy always gives me problems with internet, or internet tier lists, or whatever. You know, there's ways to do this that is productive, and there's ways to do it that kind of whips people up in a frenzy and makes a lot of these decisions harder to come by. Granted, the decisions to make a weekly region locked is kind of a no-brainer at this point, so that's all credits due there. But now it's like, okay, what are the implications for majors? Are majors going to be always region locked now? I think there's a huge hesitancy to do that, so what's the next step? And I mean, Gallant was the first to put their opinions out there. They said up to 16 it's split, and we'll see next steps. If Xanadu does Pound, what are they gonna do with Pound? You know, and there's a lot up in the air.
Yeah, and I think it's really just about like, how do I explain it? It's just, you know, we're just able to play Melee right now. Like I think that's like it's taking so for granted, and I think like maybe people are just trying to make it like for like two tournaments and stuff
Mm.
like that, and we could just do so much more with rollback now. Like exhibition matches, like there should just be more exhibition matches, more salty sweets, like more of that sort of thing. I think that would be really cool. Like the Cody HBox thing was really interesting, but we should have more of those. Like I think, I mean, there's no real ranking coming out also, and like the only thing that would be legitimate is like if everyone decides that the only legitimate thing is region locked events, and that top 8 is simply for fun and exhibition, I don't see why it would be so hard to like adopt that practice.
Mm.
and and like and just account for that there might be a rollback here or there, and that's tough with Melee, especially with how fast the game moves. But like, we can play from New York to California, like that is ridiculous. Like if rollback never happened, no one would be complaining about like thinking about it, you know?
Sure.
And I think that's like the thing.
I think it's a good point. If we just try to spread the gratitude of it, that might just solve a lot of the, because much of the issue isn't that, you know, there's not competitive integrity. It's the attitude towards it. It's the backlash. It's like the drama, and it's not needed. So I think it's a really good way to kind of end this topic, is to say it again. We were not able to do this as of June of last year, and now it's, you know, it's enriched all of our lives and our Melee scene, and just don't take it for granted. Enter tournaments and be happy.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of goes into my next sort of thing that I wanted to kind of rant about, which is expectations in general. And it's something that I've been thinking about lately because, you know, I am finally getting settled slowly. Still, I'm mostly unpacking a lot of stuff today. But, you know, I have the computer set up, as you can see, and the PC set up, despite the little scare of it breaking in shipment. And I don't know, I was playing the last few days, getting warmed up again, trying to get back to where I was, you know, over the holiday time where I got to net play a lot. And I noticed myself getting really frustrated, you know, and I was like, and I was getting really frustrated because I felt like I could see what was happening, what my opponent was doing, and not executing it properly on the box. And I kind of had to like pull myself back, take a step back, and like really think about like what I was really expecting, especially on like day one of playing the box after like a 2-week hiatus just because of like shipping and moving to Cali and stuff like that. And really being like, do you really like deserve to get mad about this? Like, you're one, still on a new controller that you picked up in October, and two, you haven't like played for like 2 weeks because of the move. Like, is this really what you were like? Did you really expect that you would be like fine after that, you know? And I think like there's a difference between being hopeful and expecting something and kind of being really honest with yourself about it. And so I don't know, I realized that, and like the tilt and like all of that like started going down a little bit more and stuff like that. And coincidentally, obviously you play better like that anyway, but I think I just wanted to bring up this topic of like expectation versus hopefulness. And like there's such a stark difference between it, you know, like knowing that you can play a certain way and expecting that you'll play that way are two very, very different things. And then throw in the third of hoping that you play that way.
Yeah. Oh man, I love this topic. And I was just playing before we recorded, and I've been kind of on and off. I need to get a new controller, I think, because I've tried cleaning it, and I still get really sticky R button, and so I'm throwing in the towel. It's been a few years. I'm gonna get another controller. But when it comes to playing with the controller that's giving me problems, and it's been a few weeks now, I've been able to set my expectations very low for when I touch the controller, when I go on unranked or when I play a buddy. And I realized that once I did that, I don't know if just serendipitously it gave me less problems. I still light shield every now and then without wanting to, but I was able to kind of revert back to a comfortable play. I was able to play Bills and like actually keep up with him. He always kicks my ass, but I'm like, all right, these are good games, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Going unranked, pull out my Falco, do cool things with Falco, and once now that you're talking through it, I'm putting it together for myself, and I think it's really important to always come back to this idea, just like with gratitude in the last section. Like expectations almost is like the yin and yang of that, and especially with melee, like if you put it down, if you're just like, okay, I'm gonna just play and not really care if I can't do things, it's easy when you could put that onto something else. Like I think it's actually pretty healthy to say this is a new controller, so I'm not gonna expect to be as good as I used to be. It makes a lot of sense, and it also kind of solves it for a little bit as long as you keep that on the mind. My controller isn't working well, I'm not gonna play great. And if I don't, then I'm okay with having that be outside of my control. So I think it's a really important topic. I'm curious what you think about like going forward, how you want to manage like where your head's at right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it's really just reminding that this is gonna be a long process. That I'm not gonna be able to hit the things that I want to hit or execute the things I see in my head, and like that's part of it, and that's why I like melee. Also, like I'm me getting frustrated about it that it sucks is partially because it's a mix of me thinking that I would be better on the controller, which might not even be true, and two, like on the GameCube controller, and then two, also like it's a perception of me. I'm not meeting me where I'm at. You know, like it's I'm thinking of myself as this past player, you know, pre-COVID, 14 in NYC, stuff like that, on this GameCube controller, not as like me now being a little bit busier with work and the new job, and also switching controllers, you know, fully and stuff like that, just because I really like it, and I and it's and being really patient about it, you know, and I think I'm like hoping in the back of my head that it is going to be shorter and not a year, but it probably will just be a year, you know. It's just like it's just that's how it is. Like there are going to be things that I'm going to be doing, and I think when I said the reason I love melee is because what makes melee fun is that it's not just a brain puzzle. You know, it's not just like, oh, I see what you're doing, so I instantly win. You have to execute it, right? And so that's the other half of it, you know. And if I can't do that, then that's fine because that's where I'm at right now. But I wouldn't take it any other way because like that's what makes melee fun. If it was the other way around and I had infinite amount of time, like say with maybe chess or something, you know, then I would just play chess, right? But we're here out here playing melee, so I think it's just kind of having a different perspective, resetting and kind of not expecting too much while still putting in the work to get better.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And while you're talking about that, like I think that applies to so many other things. Expectations obviously is a very generalized thing.
Yeah, of course.
And right now I feel very similar in the way I'm training my puppy, because I just got into like watching a lot of YouTube videos for it, maybe a little late, but better late than never, and understanding like how to actually train a dog, like the step by step, not really, not as much theory, just literally watching someone else do it and then being like, okay, let me try the exact same things. And part of it's working really well. Like she's actually coming along much more than I would expect myself to know, like at this stage, because I never trained a dog before.
Mm-hmm.
And every day I have to go into the training and realize that she's not going to be as good at this one thing as she was at the end of yesterday's training session. Like skills are going to deteriorate very, very fast at this stage. And so it is a very long process. There are things she's terrible at. She shits in the house daily. Like every day there's a new shit in a new place, and
That's funny.
that sort of thing. It's like there's no way to train a puppy to just go outside and then it's like solved. It's just not how these things work. And it's a very different kind of experience because I'm training myself too to like really have patience, to make sure that I'm not doing too much at once. If I'm teaching her to stay, you literally go little steps at a time, and it feels very Melee-esque in the sense of like you have this skill, you do it in the most refined environment, like by yourself, and you just
Mm-hmm.
wave dash back and forth, and that's how you learn to wave dash. When teaching a dog to stay, you say stay, and then you don't do anything. Give the treat right away. Stay, you take like a micro step back. Good job. You do that 3 times. Then you take 2 steps back. Good job. Feed. And it's constant reinforcement, building very, very slowly up. And then the next day you have to kind of take a few steps back and try again, and then like reinforce and all this stuff. So it's really cool you picked this topic. I think anyone listening can apply that mindset to something that's bothering them, because a lot of times our ego gets in the way and makes us feel pain. It makes us feel like we're not good enough, and that stems from like our expectations of what we should be. So it's important to keep our minds on it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm scrolling right now and looking for it, but really, it kind of reminds me of this graph that, you know, if I can find it, post editing magic will pop up on the screen with it. But it was something that, shout out to Darktooth for it. But it was something where he talks about it a lot with music, being a music teacher, right? And it was kind of these like 2 sine waves of like where you think you're good at something like art or something like that, but you realize that your actual knowledge of it isn't where you think it is. And then the reverse can happen where you don't realize how much you know, and that's when you feel the best, is when, because your expectations are a lot less, you know, and it's these kind of 2 intertwining sine waves. And I think it describes the entire situation about expectation really interestingly. And it's a cycle, right? Like you will literally just cycle through it infinitely as you move up and get better.
But yeah, that's a pretty concise way to put it. I think I was following along pretty well.
You were following along. Okay, well that's all that matters. Yeah. I just have to find it now. But yeah, I mean, expectation is really really big, right? And it really kind of can make or break how you feel after an event and stuff like that. And I'm not saying that like you shouldn't be frustrated after events. I'm just saying that like the change in perspective like helps you recover and helps you keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well,
cool.
Any other thoughts? It feels like we tied it up pretty well. So
no, I think that's about it in my head. Sweet. I think we did tie it up pretty well. All right, and we are back. See, look how good that was.
Yeah, but you didn't say anything after.
You didn't need to. Everyone understood what it was.
I guess so, but you have to have a segue into what the next topic is.
Yeah, but this is the segue. We're talking about our week and how it's been.
Great.
So how's your week been, JD?
It's been pretty good. So last week was honestly, it kind of blended into everything else. It was a full week of work. I on that front, like there's a lot of developments going on. It's pretty stable, but I'm trying to make some cool moves, doing more content with my job, which is ramping up a bit, which is cool. And hopefully I'm trying to make a move to make that my full-time position. But there's a lot of politicking and, you know, they have to open up resources, they have to go through the proper channels. It's a pretty big company, so there's certain ways to do these things. So I'll let you know how that develops, but overall it's going fine. And I've been training my dog big time, trying to get this dog up to speed with the basics of like sit, stay, fetch. Pooping outside, as I said, has been difficult, but I found this YouTube channel that I should give a shout out to, but I don't know. I just keep looking up trained dogs and finding the same guy. I don't. It doesn't matter. He'll fine. He'll be fine without my shout out. But they've been really good. He's been really helping me figure out like he'll have a whole episode on like biting, like how do you stop biting, and seeing him train a puppy the exact same age as my dog, um, and seeing that like it's not just us that are having these issues. It's like very common. There's ways to deal with it. Has really like made me feel a lot better about our puppy's progress because I think there's an expectation that like dogs will come in and they'll just kind of know some stuff, and that any mistakes are like our personal failures, or on the flip side, like personal failures of the dog that can't be helped. And finding out like, no, it's a bit of a mix. We have to take some responsibility, but also realize that like we can't solve everything right away. It's made the whole process a lot less intimidating and allowed us to kind of enjoy our time with our dogs so much more. You know, it's not a fight to like get her to sit because I know that, or like, you know, stay on my lap because I know, you know, I can't get her to be in a position she doesn't want to be in. You know, I need to cater to her needs often, and then once I do that, she becomes a wonderful dog. So that's been kind of the dominant thing, is definitely raising the puppy. And she's wonderful, and she got a puppuccino today.
Nice.
Which is just a cup of whipped cream.
I'd love a puppuccino as well.
Oh, who wouldn't, man? They're free.
Yeah, I know. I wonder if you can go up and order one for yourself.
Well, I think you can. I don't know if you need to show proof that you have a dog or anything, but Ashley went into the Starbucks without the dog and came out with a puppuccino.
Oh man, I might do that for myself. I want a cup of whipped cream.
You have to eat it like a dog, though. But
hey, yeah, well, save that for our subscriber special.
Yeah. Oh,
next milestone.
That'll be put on our Patreon once we launch it. That's pretty much my week, though. Played some volleyball, played a little bit of Melee, but mostly it's focused on work and the dog. But things are going pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, nothing really. You know, I already kind of talked about my week with the whole expectation spiel, but you know, just still getting settled in, still moving in. Got my office now. Getting, you know, work's been busy and stuff like that. So that's about it. I think we should move on to sort of the next thing, which is quickly. Do you want to talk about what we have in store with the 1v1 series?
Boy, do I ever. I want to take a second and do something that's going to be pretty contrived, but there's a reason for it. And I want to do like a very Scar before grand finals-esque introduction to this to be used in a trailer. And it might be lame. It might go very poorly. I didn't rehearse this. I have nothing written down. I'm just going to see if it comes out well. But I want to go over and try to say some things, and maybe it'll make the trailer.
Okay.
Here we go.
Let's see it.
Here we go.
Let's see it. No pressure. No pressure. When was the last time you did improv?
About 12 months ago.
All right, well, let's go then.
The Melee community is full of character. We have been able to bless the screen with our presence, with our game, and to bless your ears with some of the best commentators to grace the microphone. And the saddest thing of the past 2 decades is that some of these stories have gone untold. Gone untold? No! I can edit it.
That was loud.
Have gone
Headphone warning.
untold. This month will be the greatest collection of stories that our community has to offer. Pew, 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 pew. Lightning effects, explosion, sample here, gameplay.
That's it.
Sorry for breaking your eardrums, but to the edit, when I edit it, it's not going to be that loud, so it's only for you.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Well, I gotta want to give it a shot too. This seems fun.
Yeah, try it. Just like really,
Alright.
like really lame, but try
All
your
right,
best.
all right. Yeah, I mean, fuck it. It's our podcast. We got time.
Let's see.
All right. What scar do I want to take though? There's so many different scars.
Take like 20% of Scar.
No, like what era scar? That's what I'm thinking. Don't worry. I know. I'm just asking this for myself. Okay. JD, don't you find it weird that like we have so many amazing people in this community and we don't know any of their stories? Like, obviously I know yours and I know a few others, but like, what about all the other ones? Like, they just aren't there. They're almost non-existent. And as the Melee community, what the Melee community needs is for these stories to be told, for people to hear their voices, hear their experiences, hear their origin stories. And what the Wannabes podcast is going to do for this next month is release these stories to the people, for the people, by the people. So yeah, tune into the Wannabes podcast. We got a 1v1 series. Charlie Thomas, Shakespeare, PGH Carroll, and many more. Aglo J Mook to be coming also. Yeah, appreciate you. Love you all. Bye.
All right. That was so good. That was way better than I thought it was going to be, honestly. Oh my god.
How's that as an intro? How's that?
For the people. That's what got me. You nailed that one. All right, so in all seriousness, here's what we have lined up. So last week we released Radar kind of as like a patch to fill our week void.
Hey, first 1v1 of season 2.
Yeah.
Hey, big congrats. Big shout outs to Radar.
I thought it was a great episode. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really good.
Recording
it. Was really
good. And so the next few names are a combination of people that have agreed to, and we've locked down a time to record, have agreed that we still have to do the logistics, or we've fully recorded these. So I'm not going to say which is which, just these are all going.
Just know.
These are going to come out.
Yeah.
Chelly Toms, Shakespeare, Fendi, Alston Melee, J-Mook round 2, Aklo round 2, PGH Carroll, the elusive PGH Carroll, and our shining achievement will be Toph. We got Toph, baby. Yes, that deserves a standing ovation.
Yeah.
This is definitely like our most clouded collection of names. I think the fact that J-Mook and Aklo, that we're like, hey, this is the return of these two, has some pretty sick implications to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a continuation of their story now.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting.
Yeah, and so those are actually the first two people we've had back, right?
Yeah, no, big honor, big shout outs to them.
Yeah.
First two rewinds, or the double back, or whatever we want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to, like, before we record, listen to the first one again, and then see what we could add on top of it. All that. We've also been collecting some really great questions from the Discord for these people. For the I know you got some sick questions for PGH Carroll that I hope you asked. You did?
I asked all of them.
All right,
I asked all of them. So to all the viewers, Kemor, Cypher, Mose, thank you so much for the questions. Big shout outs. Dude, they are killing the Discord.
Discord's
right now.
been so much fun to hang out.
So poppin'. So
and yeah, I have like a collection of commentators, and I'm gonna ask them pretty much all the same questions and see what they all say. And that's been something that I've just been wanting from, not from being a content creator, but from someone who consumes content. I've been wanting to like hear some of these questions be asked, and people who've been at majors, at top eights, and had, some of them are organizers of TOs, not TOs, sorry, they're TOs of commentators, and they pick the slots for them. It's just really interesting to get their perspective on these things. So, I'm super pumped. We're gonna have a trailer coming out that I really want to make like flashy and include those very contrived things we just did. And these will probably all be out in February, and we'll do a February. We had March Madness last year. What should February be this year?
I don't think
February Frenzy.
I guess. I mean, that works. That's good enough.
Yeah, all right.
I was thinking no Fab February.
No fucking around February. Oh, okay.
I don't know. Yeah, well, name TBD. But two things I want to say about this.
Yeah.
One is it's an absolute huge honor to be able to interview these people. I think 2 years ago we didn't think we would be able to like get some of these people, all of them, honestly, on the podcast. So super honored. I'm super excited for it. I know you're doing the bulk of the interviews because you got more time than I do, but still huge to have them on our platform. Really big honor to all of them. Big thanks. And then second is that, you know, I think the one interesting thing that's changed with our podcast is the Discord community questions, and that we actually have a group now where we can go, hey, we're interviewing so and so, do you have any questions? And I think that is what I'm really excited for too, because not only do I want to know what you and me think. I mean, we talk more than enough on a weekly basis, daily basis sometimes, but I want to know what other people kind of want to ask. And so I think that's going to be a big part of the season 2 1v1 series that I'm really excited for.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this isn't like the entirety of the season 2. This is probably like the season 2 first half, or like the opener, I guess you could say.
Yeah, it's the opener. It's the first big one. It's the genesis of season 2, right? It's the
first block.
Curtain.
The first. Yeah. So hopefully, you know, we carry this momentum. I love recording 1v1s. I mean, as you were saying with Carol, that it was like, not to step on your story with this, but
go for it.
You were saying how he just was able to talk so much, and you were just like, sweet, you know, just like, go ahead, man. And whenever I have those conversations, like I did record with Shelly Toms last week, which went great. I mean, she could talk for hours, and I felt like making a connection with someone who I respect in the community is one half of it, but also just being able to have the conversations with people that either agree with me on some things, or in her case, like she actually was just like, no, I disagree. And like hearing her perspective on certain things is like, that's the whole reason we started this, man. It's the whole reason we enjoy talking to each other, is that we always have different opinions and are coming from different places. So it's just such a joy to be able to continue to do this, and to have built up, I guess, the respect, the reputation of being decent interviewers. It's cool. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. And yeah, and now we get to do it as a small community too, which is gonna be cool. And kind of that segues to the last part.
Very well done.
Always. See, I'm handling all the transitions really well today.
Absolutely.
Didn't fuck up a single one of them. All scripted.
Yeah, well done.
But you know, we got some Discord community questions, and as always, we got to end on those.
Yep.
So JD, you want to kick off with the first one?
Yes, absolutely. So, I want to give just overall shout outs to Kremer, Cypher, Andre, and Mose. Am I missing anyone?
I think that's the bulk of it.
At the top of my head. We have a bunch of questions here. Those guys all contributed, and so I think instead of just doing like this question by blank, because it's the same group, you guys are all awesome, let's answer your questions. So, First one, Melee gets released after Ultimate's DLC roster is fully released for the Switch and is marketed as, quote, the canceled GameCube Smash game. How long do you think it would take people to realize how sick Melee is? I'm going to give this a dirty 30. I think...
Yeah, go for it.
It would be a very short amount of time, because I know my cousin's kid, he's about 10 years old, they love playing Melee on the computer. They emulate it and they just play against the computer. It's very easy to get onto. It's an addicting ass game. It just depends on the online and how accessible like the controllers will be. If you have to play on Joy-Cons, it's not going to work. But if you can get the GameCube controllers with a good adapter, I think it can catch on really quickly. That's all I got.
Yeah. My quick answer is it's gonna have the hype of a new Smash game. So it's gonna be an instant success regardless of what it is. In terms of competitive play, it depends on the controller, but honestly, like I would put money that this game would blow up. Like easy. It's an easy bet on my end.
Yeah. Yep. And I guess online would be a disaster, but whatever.
Online would be a disaster, but I think people would still love the game. I mean, think about like how many Smash people like Rishi and Leffen got into Ultimate and stuff like that,
Sure.
right? When Plup when it came out and continue to even Mango, right? And so I'm just assuming the same thing will happen.
Yeah. Okay. Word.
Cool. Yeah.
Probably will never happen though. Next question. Most of us Melee fanatics believe that Melee will never die. For you guys, when did you first start to believe that? Was it as you fell in love with the game, or did that mindset change more recently? What do you think?
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'll kick this question off. So this is a super cool question, actually. I'm really excited to answer this one. I think my perception of Melee ever dying, like in the grand scheme of things, I never thought it would. Just because you see like so many other like traditional fighting games still have huge communities or small grassroots scenes. Like people are still playing Street Fighter 2, Street Fighter, Third Strike and all of that, like to this day in the arcade and stuff like that. So I don't think that like that was ever gonna be like a thing. I think Melee would like keep the same diehard group. What I think changed for me was whether Melee would ever die for me personally. And I think I always like thought that like when like I don't know, I had this dumb goal that I wanted to, I got my first job, and I really wouldn't like try to start building out my career until I made top 100, and obviously that changed as you grow up, right? And you learn to balance it and integrate it into your like day-to-day life. And I think that's when it really shifted, was almost when we, have a year into our podcast, where I started to realize that like Melee was forever going to be just that important in my life, whether it is as a competitor or as, with the community and my friends, or like something that I do to like reset myself in a sort of meditative way. And I think that is what really shifted in me, is that I stopped trying to think of Melee as like okay, I only will have time for this. And then I'll have to give it up because I'll have to grow up and be an adult and get a job and have a family down the line and whatever. It's something I'm starting to realize through our conversations, through the 1v1 series, that it's just gonna forever exist for me and in my life in such a personal way. And so will Melee ever die for me? I can say no. And that's why I've been able to like further my career and move out to NorCal and all of that, while not being worried about making top 100, though that is still the goal.
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful answer, because that's, at this point, it's easy to see that right, the game's not going away. Especially you see a lot of other scenes with a lot smaller of like a base to shrink from, even when Melee shrinks or expands, whatever the cycle is. It's not going anywhere, and that's pretty plain to see at this point. To answer the question as it is, because I want to talk about what you talked about too, when did I think the game itself wouldn't die, has been kind of an up and down thing. I mean, when I first came out of school, I wanted to put a lot of chips into the Melee basket and be a content creator, be a top player, be a top commentator, and put a lot of time into that effort, because I believed that in the core of Melee's like pipeline to success, that it is a worthwhile game to pursue creatively, and the tangential opportunities that Melee gives will help me further my career, which is something I still believe and is probably more widely believed now. As to the game itself surviving, sometimes I thought that I was on a dying ship, but I was going to keep playing anyway. And then once Corona, I was on a upswing when HNC season 1 started. Then Corona hit. I thought Melee's going to take a huge blow. Net play sucks. I can't do this. Then rollback came, and ever since then, it's been a huge up. So it's hard to really always think like Melee's never going to die. But I've had many different times where I was fully on the hype train, like this game's lasting forever. And currently I'm there. And if it could survive a pandemic right now, it could probably survive anything. So I'm probably most firmly believing that now. For me, personally, just to quickly touch on that topic, I think once I first started playing and once I first started going to tournaments and had to come to terms with like all the other things I wanted to do with college and comedy and dating Ashley and different balances there, I kind of realized that Melee's never going to be the only thing because it's really hard for that to happen. But it can always be there, especially when combined kind of with what I said before of the time I put in will be worthwhile in the greater scheme. I'll develop skills and be able to fulfill myself creatively. So in that sense, much earlier on, I was like, this game offers so much, especially as I was making lifelong friends through it. I'm like, this game's got everything. Well, why would I ever quit if I can just pick it up and start playing or go to a friend's house and have the best partying experiences were with the game, not in my frat's basement, but at a buddy's house with 8 of us getting hammered and playing the game. And it just beat every other situation was always there. So yeah, really early on was I realizing that the game will be in my life forever. Great question.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Next question. Keep it going.
Yeah. Okay, so this one's, I think, pretty quick. Another Dirty 30, only because Wolf came out recently.
This question's so funny in context.
Yeah, this was 5 days before Wolf came out. Love it. Still, let's say 5 years we're playing on a new rule set with some new stages in some way. Some guy mods Knuckles into the game and he's sick. They're going to play a tournament with only Knuckles. What's the response to the community would be? What would be yours? And how do we, as a community, deal with this?
Yeah, this question
We're in it right now. We're 5 years ahead of time. We saw this question and moved time forward to talk about this.
So funny.
I think we already discussed like half of the points, but I think that like it's weird to say. How do we answer this?
We already answered it. I think
we answered it.
I think we could.
It's an amazing
skip
question
it.
though.
We could almost skip it because we talked about it in length, but we had to include it because they were, all right, let's say 5 years. I don't know, some crazy amount of time.
Yeah. How about 5 days?
Literally 5 days later, it was announced. So we saw the response of the community, and really, I think just to recap, there's going to be not a split, but like just a supplement, like supplement brackets. People are playing volleyball because it's still Melee, so it's like it's still very similar. I think it's just and with Wolf, it's like just extra content, extra hype. Who cares if like we're gonna have other tournaments with these bonus characters? It's all, I think, positive feedback from the community. So when I first read this question, actually, I thought, oh, that's really interesting. Maybe there would be a split. Maybe the community would be like, I don't want to do this. But as we've seen, it's just been so hype.
Everyone has the best Wolf. Everyone just has the best Wolf.
Everyone with a Twitter account has the best Wolf.
Yeah, I forgot. I think SFOP made that tweet.
Yep.
It was really funny. Yeah.
Hilarious.
Okay. I love this last question I really want to get into, but we should go through, I think, some of our more lightning round questions.
Great idea.
First.
Great idea. So you ask the first one, I'll ask the second one.
You go first.
Okay. Do you think that if going from Melee to Brawl, they wouldn't have removed wave dashing, that the two communities would now be unified, or do you think that the differences between the newer titles to Melee would have mattered enough so that the communities would still have split up?
I think with wave dash, it's not just wave dashing, but the tripping. I think if they had wave dashing and no tripping, then there's a possibility of the two communities being the same. But even then, like we see fighting game communities like still like people still play Marvel 2. Like Yipes still host a Marvel 2 tournament, and then other people also play Marvel 3, right? And no one plays the new Marvel because it's trash. But you know, right? I think like there's always going to be a split, but will it be a little bit more like porous where people would go in and out of it? Definitely, 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just say that if Brawl came out and was PM, Melee would be dead. And,
Easy.
And
yeah.
no one would ever play it.
It was PM, easy.
And I'd be okay with that because whatever. Okay, you asked me the next one.
Yeah, if you had 2 final smashes, what would they be? The same with a kill confirm.
If I had a final smash, what would it be? Okay, it would be sitting someone down for a 1v1 and ranting for half an hour while they have to sit there during their own interview and listen to my opinions, and then they take 69 damage.
Interesting. Okay. I didn't know, I wasn't sure whether it was final smashes that exist or don't exist. Because I still like the Star Fox one. Spawning a tank.
A new one, come on.
A new one?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can just take the Star Fox one.
I don't want to kill confirm anyone IRL. I mean, you know.
Hey, man.
But
lightning round. Go.
Final smash, honestly, something Kirby-esque, dude. I just want to spawn chopped cheeses and all my favorite foods. Chopped cheese, ramen, unagi-don, like some good tacos, some al pastor, some lengua tacos. Add the guac in there. Yeah.
I want a chopped cheese so bad. God damn it.
Dude, chopped cheeses are so good. Remember when I brought you on that wave?
Yep.
You're like, what the fuck is a chopped cheese?
Absolutely. That was I missed that. That apartment was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Good times.
Good times.
Okay. All right. So this one, I love this last lightning round one. You suddenly stand in Sakura's bureau in the year 2000. You have a gun in your hand. It's pointed at him. Very violent. Very violent. What do you ask for him to change?
I have a gun in my hand. I'm pointing it at Sakurai in the year 2000. Okay.
Sound like the Jonas Brothers song. The year 3000.
I'm not even gonna start attempting to.
No, I know.
I would say, don't change. I would say I have to ask him to change something.
I think this is a no-brainer. Funny enough,
I would say finish Game and Watch.
I think that is the first thought that goes into people's head, because Game & Watch would be a solid mid tier.
Yeah, he'd be fun.
Like a really good mid tier. I would ask him to give up the rights to Smash.
Oh my god. That's
release the IP or else.
That is seriously using your leverage of having the gun in your hand.
Hey, look, what do you ask? Is there a better thing than just being like going back in time, releasing the IP, traveling back, hopefully everyone's fine,
I don't think
it's not a butterfly effect.
He doesn't own the IP though. He's just a developer.
That's fair. Well, Jesus Christ.
All right,
then it takes a much darker turn.
Lightning.
Because here's the problem.
Can't do anything about it.
Here's the problem. You need Sakurai for new Smash games.
So
that's the darkness of this question.
Well, he's still making Melee, so you can't kill him.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's 2000, right? So.
Yeah, 2001. Okay. So I guess that loophole. All right. Well, that was a dark turn I was thinking of.
Well, fun question. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Yeah. It's getting a little dark.
Okay, let's end on a high note. You ready for this?
Yep. Yeah.
So, Will, what has been the hardest thing in Melee that you have learned or accomplished? What knowledge or goal did you get that carried the heaviest price? Let me know if you need more context to this question. I shouldn't have asked that last part.
No,
because I don't have the context.
All right. What's the hardest thing in Melee that you've learned or accomplished? What knowledge or goal did you that get carried? Did you wait? What knowledge or goal did you get that carried the heaviest price? Interesting. Wow, this is a good
It's a
question.
little heavy.
Yeah. Also, before we answer that, I'm just also gonna change my answer for the last question. It's going to be more stages,
Okay,
more competitive stages, and not pokey floats.
fair enough.
Uh, fair enough. But I think okay, the hardest thing I've had to learn in melee or accomplish. I mean, I don't think I think learning something is way harder than accomplishing something. Funny enough, I think for I mean, it's just there's so many mental barriers you have to go through to improve in melee, and really I think the hardest thing that I'm still struggling with, but I have gotten a lot better at, especially over the last year, is just my confidence. And we've said this in past episodes and stuff like that. You know, I didn't think I really believed that I was a good player and that I would just like work hard and that's what got me through. But I wasn't a good player in itself, and I'm slowly starting to think that's not true, or that's not. It's just too simplistic of a point of view to really think about, right? And I think that is one of the most interesting things, and like what qualifies as being talented at this game. You know, I think like one thing that I've realized is I'm just like much more of a grinder than everyone else, and that in itself carries me a lot. You know, what knowledge or goal did you get that carried the heaviest price? Honestly, I mean, what price did I have to pay for anything? You know, I think that like I don't think I really have anything that I gave up to learn about melee or goal that I did. I think maybe like some financial stability, like when I first moved to New York and stuff like that, and a lot of hours of sleep. But aside from that, like I don't think I gave up anything to in pursuit of melee.
Hmm.
What about you, JD?
I would say the hardest thing has wasn't a one thing. I think every time I made the commitment to really improve over, usually be like a sprint over a month or two, it was just reprioritizing my life for that period of time and saying like, this is important to me. I'm going to train very hard. There were a few instances of that
Mm-hmm.
over a few summers, and um, in I think sophomore year of college, and when I first started, there were just times where I'm like, this is what I'm going to practice, and I would wake up early, and I would take better care of my body during those times, and I would be a little more disciplined with like responsibilities, homework, or whatever it may be. And that was just, it was hard, coming off of that and realizing like that's the discipline I need to really get better, because I would see results, but I would also kind of ebb and flow out of that work ethic. And so I think on a larger scale, it's kind of hard to realize that you can't really let off the brakes for long periods of time. You could take breaks, but you can't stop, when it comes to any skill. And in melee, like I've seen that my rate of improvement has gone down because I've been practicing less. And that's an understanding that has come with time and is the flip side of like practicing makes you better. So I think that knowledge came with the price of a part of my ego. There was,
Mm.
when I first started, I was the best in my high school, and that came with a bit of like a chest out, like, oh, I'm really good. Like, I was quite good for Central New York when I was coming up, and I made like top 10 upstate PR at one point, which I don't even know what that means because half the players were inactive. But things like that at the time felt great because it was above where I started. And then over time, it came with the knowledge of like, if I don't reprioritize, or if I don't keep this on the forefront, then I won't achieve goals that I've once had for myself. And you kind of have to do a lot of reconciliation of like where you're at and what you want. And that can be tough. But I think it's overall a good thing, and a maturity that is really important.
Yeah, actually, you talking made me think the thing about ego actually brought up, I think, probably the priciest cost that I've had to face. Oh, puppy. Oh, little blep. That's a little blep. That's cute. Hey, Maple. All right, well, I'll talk then while you pet this adorable dog. I think the biggest price and price because it just stunted my growth for so long is this idea of trying to be too positive. You know, I've had lots of conversations with like Nico about this, but I always thought that like, because you know, I came from Upstate 2, I saw the early rise of like IBDW, and like he really got frustrated at the game like a lot. And so I think I was like, oh well, like that you know, you don't want to be mad about the game, you know, that's not a good mentality. And I didn't really understood at that time what it meant to be a good mentality, because he would be frustrated about the game, but he'd let his emotions out, you know, honestly, and then grind for 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours afterwards, you know, so that he doesn't make it. And I didn't see that part, you know. I mean, I didn't know him too well until like later on. And so I think that was really big. And I really thought that you had to be really positive and optimistic with the game, even and take losses well to be a good player. And it's not that it's not that that's a bad thing, but like it's more of just like, if you're not honest with yourself about how you feel in the moment, then you're just faking being happy about it, you know. And you're not being honest with your emotions, that you are frustrated that something happened in game, or that you lost, or that you just weren't good enough on the day. And I think that stunted my growth for a long time in my early years of New York, where I just thought that you had to be like really ultra positive and like, you know, about the game to be improving. And I think that is still a good trait in myself, but I just have a more nuanced view of it now.
Yeah.
Where if I am frustrated and stuff like that, I'll be honest about it, and it's mostly like internal, and I get quiet, and you've seen when I get frustrated, but it's more of like, you know, I don't, obviously you shouldn't attack anyone or say anyone played bad or whatever, like that's just being a sore loser.
Right.
But yeah, it's really funny, especially because when I reverse 3-stocked Wizzy game 2 at Genesis,
name drop.
Homemade Waffles, yeah, Homemade Waffles, like, because, you know, I housed him in New York, so we're friends and stuff, and he was like, yeah, like, Will's the most positive smasher, like, I've never seen him get tilted. And I think I always watch that kind of funny, like, laughing, because I think in that time where he saw me, I really was like super like that and big on the improvement grind, and I don't regret that. But I think I didn't look deep enough for it. Like, I didn't understand the nuance of it. And when I kind of had to let that go and we started recording, that's when I kind of started making strides, like that summer, you know, with Alien Gang and all the NJ tournaments into HNC, right, in early 2020. So, yeah, it cost me a lot of time.
I hear that, man. Toxic positivity. Is a tricky thing to get into sometimes, but as long as you're being honest, then the real positivity can come out. And I think it's still true. Like, there's something to be said about never seeing someone get tilted. Doesn't mean you don't get tilted. So you could still be right, because I've never seen you get tilted. I know you well enough to be like to deduce it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as you don't attack anyone, slander anyone, hurt anyone, you know, I think that's where it goes wrong in terms of being tilted. But if you're angry at yourself, go at it, you know?
Well, right now, I think Zane and SFAT are probably the two mentality masters.
Oh, yeah, super, super big shout-outs to both of them.
Yeah. So, cool. I mean, we got through all the list of questions. We talked about 1v1s. We talked about all the news and our expectations and our recap. Pretty loaded episode, man.
Yeah, no, lots of stuff that we talked about. I think, yeah, I mean, we're really getting into a lot of interesting discussions. So I can't wait for next week, honestly.
Yeah, man.
At this point.
yeah, we're gonna keep it rolling. We're gonna have our 1v1 series be hopefully a big splash, and I predict next week we're gonna have a bunch of new listeners coming in. So Discord, keep the welcoming party going. Appreciate all of
Yeah.
you. Thank you for the questions, and Will, I appreciate you.
Yeah, much love to everyone, and of course you, man. I love you, man.
Love you too, buddy. Talk soon.